Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Backyard Aviary Adventures. It's a bit of a different one. We're starting off at home. We're going to be birding reasonably local North Wales and the Wirral. The reason for this is not much else has turned up.
Something will.
Something might. Anyway, keep with us. There's a few birds about local. Let's find them.
Our first stop was West Kirby Marine Lake, where somebody the previous day had seen a great northern diver.
Hey folks, we're here at West Kirby Marine Lake. Apparently there is a great northern diver here, a youngster. I saw one here back about 5 or 6 years ago, so we're hoping to see that. There's no reports this morning, but we're hoping. And somebody also mentioned a female common scoter, which would be excellent as well. Let's see if we can find that, see what else is about.
It was a still, bright morning, and the marine lake was like a mill pond. Even from the van we saw some shapes of birds on the marine lake, so we investigated. The first birds we saw being red-breasted mergansers. As we looked out, a huge flock of knot on the opposite side of the marine lake were weaving in and out. Like a shoal of fish, they were all changing direction. It was an incredible and quite hypnotising thing to watch. After witnessing this amazing sight, we looked back out on the marine lake to see the great northern diver that we were looking for. It had popped up not too far in front of us. Unfortunately though, it didn't stay in one place for long. As soon as it came to the surface, it dove under again and again. They don't call them divers for nothing. After a short while, Kaylee managed to get this footage of the diver preening. This species does not breed in the UK, it only visits in winter. And I've been lucky enough to see this species at this location a few years previously. The diver moved around the marine lake for quite a while. We followed it and it went towards the pontoon. On the pontoon itself there were some birds too, including this cormorant that was drying off after doing some fishing, and also some roosting waders as it was high tide. There was a large number of redshank and amongst them some turnstone. Back out on the water, there was some redshank that were actually swimming. I've never seen this before, so this was unusual. This one we were filming was soon joined by another. It didn't seem so pleased with that and chased the second bird off. Some of the redshank were coming up really close, almost to our feet, feeding on the edges of the marine lake. Looking out a little further, I noticed this female common scoter that was preening. These are sea ducks, so don't always come this close in, so we're very pleased to see this bird. Partway down the marine lake there's a rocky area. This is often used by wading birds at high tide to roost, and today was no exception. There was a number of birds present, the most numerous being turnstone. These birds were in groups on the rocks roosting. Amongst the turnstone there was also a few dunlin. As the rocks were really close to the edge, I was able to get some very close views and some great footage of these lovely birds. Before moving on, I noticed another group of red-breasted merganser. These few females were diving all at the same time. It was quite comical to watch. This was a great start to the day, but now it was time to move on.
Where are we going?
Hi folks, we've had a pretty successful journey to West Kirby Marine Lake and we saw the great northern diver that we wanted to see. Only the second one we've seen. And we also saw a female scoter, I think. I'll have to have a look at the video just to double check. Some mergansers, some waders that roost there. Pretty nice. So we're heading now to our local RSPB reserve, which is Burtonmere Wetlands, which is great for wading birds and waterfowl. Also, someone's mentioned a barred warbler there this morning, which is a bit of a rarity around here. So let's see if we can find it.
When we arrived at Burtonmere Wetlands, the car park was full.
We're here at Burtonmere Wetlands. The car park was absolutely wedged full. We had to drive around and wait for a spot. Finally we found one with the help of one of the staff here. Everyone's here because there's a barred warbler here, which is unusual to see this far west. So we're heading to see that and see what else we see on the way. Stick with us.
We set off from the visitors centre and walked all the way around the reserve past all the hides on towards Border Hide, where this barred warbler had been seen. This species is one we've only seen once before, and that was on the east coast, so we were quite eager to get a view of it. When we finally reached Border Hide, there were lots and lots of other birders stood on the ramp looking at the vegetation where the barred warbler had apparently been seen. Unfortunately though, it hadn't been seen for some time, so I had a quick look out of the hide. There really wasn't much there, the most prominent bird being this grey heron that was roosting. Another bird that had been reported had been a long-tailed duck that was over on a pool to the right hand side of the hide. I had a look out and did see it, although it was at a distance and it didn't stay above the water for any real length of time, kept diving under and under again. Regardless, a good bird to see. After spending some time looking for the barred warbler, we gave up and headed back towards the visitors centre, passing a few birds on the way in the trees and bushes, including this chaffinch and also some goldfinch. We did see some siskin as well, but I couldn't get any footage of them.
Hey folks, here at Burton we didn't see the barred warbler. There's a few people there, but it was a big area of vegetation, not much chance. We did see the long-tailed duck, so time to move on.
We headed about 40 minutes away to Car Lane Pools, where somebody had seen some water pipit. When we arrived, we parked up and tried to find a place to view the pools. Unfortunately, these pools, although very lively for birds, are by the side of a quite busy road, so you need to cross the road and just find a break in the bushes to look over the pools.
Hey folks, we are at Hale, at Car Lane in Hale, which is by the Mersey estuary. It's just like a little road with a little bit of flooded field to one side. We're just trying to get a viewing point onto the field. Apparently someone saw a water pipit here before, which is a lifer for both of us, so we're going to try and find that. Stick with us, see what we find.
When we found somewhere, there was plenty of birds present, the most abundant being lapwing. There was a lot of these birds flying in and out from adjacent fields. Other birds included some ducks, most of which were teal. Amongst the teal there were a handful of shovelers dabbling in the water feeding. Unfortunately there were no sign of the pipit. As we were about to leave, a kestrel flew over and landed at a distance in a tree, but now it was time to leave the teal and the lapwing behind and move on.
Where are we going?
Hey folks, there's been a bit of a change of the plan. We've noticed somebody this morning spotted a snow goose, a blue morph snow goose in Lancashire, which is about an hour away from where we were at Hale. So we thought, why not?
We took the hour trip into Lancashire hoping to see the snow goose. The sat-nav though had other ideas. It took us down a really dodgy farm lane where disaster happened.
Hello.
Somebody got us stuck.
We got really stuck in the mud trying to turn round. We went down the wrong lane, down some kind of farm lane, tried to turn round, and the van is stuck in the mud deep. We can't move it. There's a lady that's gone past who's called the husband, who's apparently got a little tractor, and I'm hoping it's going to be enough just to get us out of this mud. Oh. I don't think we're going to get the snow goose, unfortunately, for you.
I think we're going to tap out with a glass of wine.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a few drinks and resume tomorrow.
After being rescued by a very kind gentleman with the van, we headed back down the dodgy lane and we found another way to Banks Marsh.
Yellow, we got rescued. A very nice woman passed us and her dad came with a van and pulled us out. Obviously it's a little bit later than we hoped to get her and the sun's going down a bit. Goodness knows if we're going to see anything else.
And it was a lot of Nigel, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, I know you got a bit told off, but I'm going to tell the sat-nav off really, because that's what took us down there. So we're going to have a look out on this marsh anyway, see what we see. I'm not holding out much hope for the snow goose because it's probably flown off to roost somewhere. But if we don't see that, we'll see what we do see and then decide what to do tomorrow. So stick with us.
We walked along the bank that was overlooking the marsh. There were plenty of birds out there, lots of life. Unfortunately, it was getting dark, so it wasn't great for the camera. But we did see some birds like this little egret that was feeding and an absolutely enormous number of widgeon. We looked around for any geese and initially couldn't see them. But it turns out we had to look a little further out.
Hey folks, it's going dark. We had to look out for the snow goose. We didn't see it, but there were a lot of geese. It was an awful long distance away. I've taken some photographs of the geese in the hope that it may show up on the photographs. Another cool turn of events is Kaylee may have spotted a Buick swan with two hooper swan. She's looking at her at the moment. So if it is, and when we get home we've checked it out, that will be a lifer for Kaylee. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that one. Right, we're going to head and probably get some fighting.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and get some food and hopefully some alcohol. Yeah, it's been a hell of a day. Anyway, see you in the morning for more. Keep with us.
As we were walking back down the bank towards the van, there was a deafening sound overhead. This was an enormous flock of geese. We watched the flock fly over our heads in awe. These were clearly birds that were all gathering to roost. It was a phenomenal thing to see, and a great way to end our day. Now though, it was time to go for a meal and a drink, as it was our wedding anniversary. After a lovely meal, we drove up to where we'd stay the night in the van. Then we parked up and called it a night. We woke up to horrendous weather, barely any visibility and rain. Not a great way to start the day.
Hey there, we've just finally got through all the bad weather. There was rain and mist, fog, everything, which didn't make for a great start. But we've stopped now at Llandulus, which is on the North Wales coast, which is pretty reliable for sea watching. Usually scoters and sometimes mergansers, cormorants.
The car park at Llandulus is pretty busy with people going to eat their lunch, and due to this there's plenty of gulls around hoping for scraps, like this black-headed gull and also this herring gull that was drinking out of a rock pool. On the rocks there was some turnstone, but we were watching the sea. This bay at Llandulus is a hot spot for sea ducks, and we've seen plenty here in the past, including velvet scoters and surf scoters. Today these two birds weren't present, but there were some common scoters and some quite near in, so we could see them. After a bit of scanning out to sea, I saw a red-throated diver at quite a distance, but this is a really cool bird. After walking a little further down the front to see what else we could see, a bird popped up almost right in front of us. It was the red-throated diver. This is the closest I've ever seen this species, so I was absolutely blown away. It stayed in and fished in front of us for quite a while, so we were able to get brilliant views and also some great footage of this wonderful bird. Another species we got really good views of was great crested grebe. There were a number of these here. By now, although we'd love to stay around for longer, the rain really started coming down, so we got in the van and decided to move on and leave Llandulus behind.
You can tell I've been like sea watching.
Hey folks,
You can definitely tell I've been sea watching.
it's cold out there and windy and also rainy, but it's been reasonably successful. We did see common scoters and we had a stunning view of a really close red-throated diver, which was amazing. Really confiding birds. Great crested grebes, I saw a couple of turnstone, cormorants, yeah, brilliant, really good, despite the weather. We're going to head on now, I'm not quite sure where, maybe Conway RSPB, We'll keep you posted, stick with us.
We didn't go to Conway RSPB, we went to Morpha Madryn Nature Reserve.
Hey folks, we're at Morpha Madryn Nature Reserve.
Which is where?
Which is in between Conway and Bangor. It's in a place I can't pronounce.
It's in Clevacan.
Yeah, it's there. We're looking for a Slavonian group. I know. We're looking for a Slavonian grebe that was seen here yesterday. We're not holding out much hope, but there might be some other cool stuff here as well.
This is a reserve we'd never been to in the past, and we weren't even aware of it, but we were very pleasantly surprised. Walking towards the shore, we saw some shell ducks sleeping, and also a large group of widgeon feeding on some grass. Another duck that I was pleased to see was a male pintail that was sat right on the edge of the shore. What a great bird. We took a trail towards some hides. When we arrived at the first hide, we looked out onto the most beautiful scene, a lovely beach overlooking the estuary. Not only was the scenery amazing, but there were some cool birds too, like these ring plovers that were sat amongst the rocks roosting. They were surprisingly camouflaged. Out on the edge of the shore, there was a group of waders, most of which were dunlin, but the bird in the middle that's slightly bigger is a knot. Looking further out onto a pebble bank, there was a group of roosting oyster catchers. This was a great little hide, but we decided to move on to see what other hides there were. The second hide wasn't quite as fruitful, with just a small pool and a large group of noisy grey-lag geese. So we moved on to the third hide, which was much better. Looking out onto the water, there was a massive amount of redshank, all roosting because it was high tide. Look at how many there were, there must have been hundreds of them. Other birds on the water included a group of red-breasted mergansers, mostly female birds again, with one very handsome male which was quite close in. On the near bank there was a group of greenshank. This is a bird that we don't see very often, so we were super happy to see this group. Now it's time to leave this hide and move on to the beach.
Hey folks, we're still at the nature reserve. We were a little late with the tides for the Slavonian grebe. You have to cross a train track to get to the main part of the reserve. I've just gone back to get another camera battery. Kelly's still watching. It is a beautiful reserve. So far we've seen loads and loads of birds, green shanks, red shanks, red-breasted merganser, rock pipit, you name it. It's loads of birds. So we're going to go back out, have a bit more.
After scanning some fields on the way and seeing a group of lapwing and curlew feeding in the fields, we headed down to the beach to look out on the estuary as the tide had very quickly gone out. There were plenty of birds feeding out there, most numerous being oyster catchers. At this point the rain started falling again, so we headed back to the van. This reserve had been brilliant, one that we will visit again.
Where are we going?
Hi folks, after a reasonably successful last visit, we're going to go now to Llynbrennig, which is a piece of water with some forest around it. Might give us some different species, hopefully maybe siskins, redpolls, crossbill. Fingers crossed, keep with us.
We drove about an hour inland to Llynbrennig. When we arrived, the rain was hammering it down, but we tried to go out and brave it. We stayed near the visitor centre where there's some bird feeders. These feeders have been quite fruitful in the past for winter finches and sometimes even bramblings. Today we didn't see the bramblings. There were some birds like blue tits, great tits and a number of chaffinches, but unfortunately the weather got a bit much, very wet and cold, so we headed back to the van.
Hey folks, we came to Llynbrennig. It was bitterly cold and hammering it down with rain now. We didn't see much. We stayed around the visitor centre, saw a few more common finches like chaffinch and such, and also blue tits and coal tits and things, but it was far too cold and far too wet. So we've come back to the van. We're going to call it a day now because it's going to be going dark soon.
But thanks for watching. It's been a bit of an interesting weekend, to say the least. Been stuck in the mud and been soaked wet through.
Anniversary meal out.
Anniversary meal out, yeah, well, wedding anniversary. So, yeah, we did see some cool stuff. We missed a few things, but that is birding. So, anyway, thanks very much for watching. Please like,
Please subscribe.
and please press the notification bell.
Bye.
Bye.